So let's talk to Cam, who's an atheist, he, him from Michigan, answering the question, is Pride Month necessary? Cam, what is your take on this question?
Well, I just wanted to ask y'all, what was the content? Like, are you saying like it's necessary? Like, what do y'all mean by that? Like, because that was in the description. So,
Yeah. So, do you think? I know there's a lot of people in the media saying, "Well, why do we need to have a Pride celebration every year? Why are queer people constantly rubbing it in our faces? Why can't they just be LGBTQ and not have to tell anybody about it?" So I guess that's kind of the context of this particular question.
okay, so I look at it more like I think it's important because it's a historical matter. We have Juneteenth and Black History Month. So, but I thought it was like I didn't really know how to take the question because it's like necessary. Like, do we need it? Because I was like, okay, historically, yes, it would be beneficial because it reminds us of the things we did and many people did in the past and all the bad stuff that happened. So it's good to remember it. But need is like I don't know if we need, but I think it's beneficial. So yeah.
So beneficial to what end? Sorry, Cam. Beneficial to what end? Like, why do you think it's beneficial?
Like historical, isn't it like it's beneficial to know that slavery happened and that we should remember all the treacherous things that happened, like that kind of beneficial, like it teaches us something.
Sure. So in the same token, right, I think that dedicating a time and space to re-educate people on the struggles of a specific group of people allows that group to take a step forward, but also prevents kind of the rest of our society from taking a step back. I think that's kind of the aim for having a celebratory time frame like that. I personally think it's necessary so that we can ensure that a group of people that have typically been disparaged, and most commonly at the hand of religion, but maybe not necessarily, a group of people that have historically been disparaged are kind of elevated and celebrated, and we kind of treat that with the normalcy that it deserves, because all of us, regardless of what we look like or how we think, or how we feel, who we say we are, we deserve basic human rights, and we deserve respect and dignity from each other. And so I just think you bring up Black History Month and Juneteenth. I think those are well-deserved holidays and time periods. And for the same reasons, LGBTQ celebration, I also think is necessary. So that's my perspective on it.
Oh, okay. I just had one more question. It was so I am as you know.
Well, hold on.
Like I'm atheist.
Hold on, Ben. You're a member of the
yeah. I can jump in. I was curious if Cam wanted to respond to that, but yeah. My thoughts are very similar. That I think that it's very beneficial to have Pride, and it's very beneficial to have Juneteenth and Black History Month. I think all of them. I'd actually make the claim and go a step further and say that they are necessary, simply because, like, the fight's not over for any of these communities we're talking about. The fight isn't over. And I think when we say, like, we're just going to reserve this to being a nice thing that we think about and we remember the things that happened in the past, it's almost limiting it to thinking like, oh, well, that was a time back then. It's better now. And in all honesty, it's really not. It's really not better now. There are some ways that it is better and a lot of ways that it isn't. There's, especially with regard to the trans community right now, there is a lot of vitriol, like constant vitriol, constant violent crimes committed against the trans community, people being denied basic rights like housing and things. So these are all things that we still have to fight for, and we're looking back to things like Stonewall, because like a lot of the fights that was happening at Stonewall is what we're dealing with now. It's just repackaged in different ways. And so I think maybe it's really easy for a lot of people on the outside to think, well, I don't see this stuff happening, so it's really not that big of a deal. I know myself and Katie Montgomery and other people who are trans on this network, we get constant threats. Like on Twitter, if you go look at either of our pages, it's constant. Like thousands of people will just show up out of nowhere to tell you you don't deserve to exist. And like, and it is that extreme. You have people quoting statistics of I don't know if you've heard of the 41%, but that's kind of known to be the prevalence of completed suicides within the trans community. And people will show up just randomly and tell you, I wish you were part of the 41%, or go join the 41%. Or even somebody will make their entire bio, make the 41% the 100%. And it's like, this is stuff that we still face. So that's why I would say, I think pride is necessary, because I think it does show people on the outside that we are still fighting and there is still a struggle along this front. So yes, I think I'm going to leave the middle ground a little bit and say that positively, pride is necessary.
Concur.
But do you have any thoughts about that?
Were you
Cam,
talking to him or me?
Yeah, Cam. Do you have a response to that?
Yeah. And you know, I definitely think about Stonewall when I think about Pride Month. I think that's one of the key reasons why I think Pride Month was necessary, is because of that. Like what happened there. I don't remember it too well, but I just know that it was one of the key components of why Pride Month was necessary. So I would definitely agree with you. And I think it's kind of a limiting. I hate how limiting Pride Month is. It's like, why do we limit this thing to only a month? You know, I feel like we should talk about it like all year, you know, but you know,
and something else too that I want to bring up, because we talk a lot about the fear and the stigma associated with the LGBTQ community, and when we talk about this never-ending fight for our rights associated with Pride Month, and it's all very important to talk about that. But I also want to mention how important it is to talk about queer joy and seeing our community as humans enjoying our lives. There are a lot of struggles I have being trans, but I'm very happy with who I am. I'm very happy with my community for the most part. I experience a lot of joy on a daily basis. And I think something else that happens with Pride is it's necessary to showcase queer joy. Because I think looking at that, and even more so for a lot of people that are on the fence with fighting for queer rights, is this issue of just seeing our community having joy. And if you look at us and say, hey, why do I need to take this joy away from this community? I think oftentimes the majority of people want the best things for their fellow humans. And I think even going beyond the vitriol and going beyond the sticky issues and just seeing people as people and seeing their joy and their happiness for who they are, I think that often works to help people become better allies. So I did want to point out the joy component. But Jimmy, do you have any other thoughts on this?
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, I would echo. I started off with my comments. I fell short of going the route you did, but I would echo what you said. And I appreciate the call from Cam.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Cam?
Could I ask one more question?
It's not about, go for it. Yeah.
It's a whole separate topic. So I'm like a atheist and whatnot. And so when I try to explain that to my friends, it's like, or just one of my singular friends, he has trouble like getting. I think he has trouble getting his head around that, and I struggle to explain it to him, like where I come from, because most of the information I get is from watching the podcasts from AXP and whatnot, and The Line, and I tell him like most of the stuff I get from there and what I believe and whatnot, and I don't think he understands it very well. So, do you think you could give me some advice?
Yeah, Jimmy, how would you explain this?
So, Cam, pretend I'm your friend. What would you tell me about who you are or how you are or what you're talking about?
I would say I don't believe in God, and that I'm man. Usually he asks me the question, so that's what I just don't believe in God. That's about it. I think
Yeah,
that's the key component.
And I think people usually want to follow up because you have to understand. What made you not believe in God? Were you raised religious, or did that come later?
I was raised religious.
Did atheism come later? You were raised religious?
Yes, it came. Yeah, atheism came later. Raised religious.
And what happened?
What happened? Nothing detrimental. I just kind of fell away from it. It's like the more I thought about it, I was like in this gray area of like not really understanding, being confused, and I think that confusion just led me like away.
So I mean, I'm no doctor, and I often listen. Yeah, I'm not a counselor or anything, and I often listen to these shows. And every time somebody calls with a question like yours, whatever the host says has a better answer than I have. But I'm going to do my best. I'm just going to tell you that you have to understand people that you speak to about your perspective were raised probably the same as you, but maybe even with worse conditioning and worse indoctrination than you had. And they really didn't have that ability to kind of step back or have the courage or the confidence to step back and say, well, this doesn't make sense, because, the people that gave them food and shelter and explained the world to them, they were the ones also telling them, hey, this is how the world is. And they gave them religion. And so they never really had a reason to question it. And after years and years and years, that kind of thing just sticks with you. Kind of like speaking English, right? We all speak English because we were born in an English-speaking country to parents that spoke English, whose ancestors spoke English, et cetera, et cetera. If I told you, hey, tomorrow I need you to start speaking French, you'd probably have a difficult time, right? And so I think that kind of relates to speaking to somebody and saying, hey, tomorrow you're going to be an atheist. It's not a quick transition that people can make, nor can they understand it with ease. And so I think for you to be able to define what an atheist is, because it sounds like you have trouble describing who you even are in that context, right? Being able to define what it is and having the confidence to outright say it would be a big step in the right direction for you, in my opinion. Okay. I think that if you were to say, hey, look, I'm an atheist because I'm just not convinced that a God exists, that the theories or the positions that have been presented to me over the course of my life don't make sense. And until the time that they do make sense, I'm going to be a non-believer. And that's basically as simple as it is.
Yeah. And you know what? I kind of explained that to him in like an analogy. It's like I kind of explained it. I was like, if a Muslim man grew up in a small village where there's like not too well of like outside like technology, you only know this one thing, and that's and so that's kind of how it is for him. It's like, dude, you gotta like widen your perspective, dude. So
it's easy to be judgmental, and we don't want to do that, right? But at the same time, the burden is on somebody making the claim. And if your friend tells you that God exists, then you could always just ask your friend, okay, well, I don't see it that way, but maybe you can explain it to me, so. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I hope all of that helped you. I mean, I'm going to co-sign everything that Jimmy said. I don't know if I have much to add to that. But thank you for calling in, and let us know. Maybe you can call back and let us know how it goes with your friend, or if you need to talk through any other arguments that may come up.